is at Mike Revive Stronger, not Magic Mike, because we have to remind you of our Instagram handles so that now everyone listening, of which we're live and there's no one listening just yet, can go and follow. In fact, sometimes I was looking back at our last live and I think it might end up actually exporting it to YouTube a little bit after we've already started speaking. So we might have to just like calm it initially and then wait for, I don't know, a few comments. I don't know. I'm rambling. How's it going, Mike?
It's going good. Although I must apologize to you and to people listening in case they hear me blowing my nose or scuffling. I've got a bit of a like it's not even I don't even feel unwell at all. It's just literally a bunged up nose. So I probably sound worse than I really am. Like I don't have a scratchy throat anymore and I don't feel bad. I just am snotty and I'm starting to sound a little bit bunged up. But otherwise, I'm pretty good.
I noticed just before I pressed go live that you were blowing your nose. And I was like, oh no, did I give you my cold? But to be honest, I picked that up. How long's that been now? So is it like 3 weeks ago? No, I don't even know.
I was
Two or
gonna
three
say
weeks,
two
it feels
weeks.
like. 2 weeks. I think it's been 2 weeks. Time flies when you're having fun. No. The time just passes by. I know it was last time I took Ada in, and yeah, I think that was 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I think it's actually it's like that. Just talking about this, so Charlotte never gets ill,
Mm,
but she commutes into central London every day, like coming across all sorts of germs on the underground, coming across loads of people. Notoriously, people know like a time you get sick is like airports because there's just such a
yeah.
influx of different people and different environments and different like diseases and colds and whatever it is coming around. I say diseases, viruses,
Yeah.
and I think the reason she never gets sick. So I'm always like her immune system is just unbelievable. I think it's just all the years of commuting into work like that has just meant that she has built up her immune system to it. Whereas for me, I'm like at home or the gym. So it's like maybe the supermarket. Maybe sometimes I'll travel in to Central, but generally don't. So I think I'm so not getting those things. And I'm a bit of a clean freak. So like actually took Ada out on a walk today and she got like something stuck in her mouth. And I was like, oh, I have to like fish it out. And I'm like, oh, my hand's disgusting. And I have to walk around with this disgusting hand. A lot of people don't care about those things, but I'm like, have to wash that immediately when I get home. So yeah, I think it hurts me because I think there's probably a sweet spot where you get enough exposure
Mm,
to these things. It's like a lot of biology, right? You get enough of this like stress response and you can adapt to it. You don't quite get sick and it makes you stronger. Like you don't overtrain, you get stronger, you adapt. Whereas if you never get it, then you're just always at risk.
yeah, but you strike me as the type of person who's quite resilient. Like you're not getting colds every time you come into contact with someone new. So I think you're quite resilient from that perspective. It's just, yeah, you just don't have that exposure.
Yeah, I think we just and probably most people listening inherently do a ton of things right for their immune system
Yeah.
where we eat well, we take care of our sleep, stress management, probably hygienic, and obviously resistance train, exercise, maybe to an excess that might harm immune function sometimes.
Mm.
But yeah, that probably sets us up really well. But you're right, I don't often get sick. Like I actually can't. I'm going to touch wood. Touch wood. Uh, I can't remember the last time I was sick enough to be like bedridden or
Yeah.
take days off the gym. Just doesn't really happen.
No. Like that must have been COVID the last time that happened for you.
Yeah, that was so bad. That's the most sick I've ever been. Like that sucked big time. So yeah, you're not feeling bad other than a little bit of just a sniffly nose, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, to be honest, it's great, So I just feel like my normal self, just like I just need to walk around with bog roll at the moment. That's all that needs to happen. But it's
That's
interesting
been
as
my
well.
life.
Because I think we were chatting about it last weekend where I am sometimes in two minds because I'm quite similar to yourself where, I'll go to the physio clinic, but other than that, I'm quite consistent in where I'm at. I probably don't expose myself a ton to stuff. And to my knowledge, I was saying to you that, to my knowledge, I've never had COVID properly. I might have been asymptomatic, or maybe I might have had something and just not realized it, but I've never had it. And all I can put that down to is I didn't expose myself to lots of different situations. But then I'm similar to yourself, where I don't get sick a lot. I'm quite a robust person. Like I would say I've got a relatively robust immune system. But yeah, it's just interesting. Yeah, you just don't know these things.
And you are just off the back of a deload as well, so not the time you really want to be getting any sort of
No.
sickness. But hopefully you've skirted it and you
Yeah.
haven't actually ended up. You won't actually get full blown sick. But how are you feeling now? Yeah, you're basically just over halfway through getting back into the thick of hard training, right? You took what days did you deload again from last week? It was like half the week, was it not?
Yeah, so basically no, Wednesday, Thursday were pretty much deloads for the upper body, and then pretty much Friday, Saturday were like full-blown deloads, and then Sunday obviously completely off. So, however, at least 3 full days, and then, maybe kind of 3.5 to 4 if you count like Wednesday and Thursday.
And you're feeling good
I'm
for this
feeling good.
first week. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, genuinely. Like the body felt fresh. Like we obviously spoke in the check-in and we're like, hey, just take things steadily this first few weeks, leave,
Like a
treat
week one.
treat it like a
Yeah.
week one exactly, which what, I've done. So, and it feels good for it. I feel good for it. So, and I feel in a good place, again, shoulder. Last week I was saying shoulder was feeling quite angry and it just wasn't happy with life, whereas now it feels better. And again, like after I spoke with you in my check-in, the next day I had a catch up with one of the physios in the clinic, and she just kind of gave me advice about, right, try this, do that, and just gave me that reinforcement, like, hey, Mike, you're still actually early for the type of injury that you had. So that was also like, right, okay, that it was just really helpful to have that. So yeah, everything's feeling in a good place.
Sometimes you just need that person. Like sometimes you just need that person that you trust in your corner to just be like, yeah, like that's okay, or that isn't okay, or this is what you should expect, and it just gives you that confidence to move forward, or that like you said, reassurance that things are on track. So I'm very pleased to hear about that.
Yeah. How about you? What's going on with you at the moment?
Oh, it's a bit of a rinse and repeat sort of situation now. I just posted on Instagram my a reel basically just talking about focus, and you'll be able to completely relate to this, and probably a lot of the listeners will, especially for lower body lifts. I'm just in that place with my big compound lifts that I have to be so dialed in and switched on and have like all my ducks in a row, crossing my T's, dotting my I's if I'm to perform at the level that I need to now. So yeah, I that was the hack squat there, and I had pendulums and straight leg deadlifts today. Still battling with the kind of straight leg deadlift slash RDL, where I decided I'd been stuck at the same load for a number of weeks, coming over a month, increasing my kind of proficiency at the lift and tightness, and I did gain a rep on one set
Mm.
during that period of time. I probably gained a few reps on some sets as well. I just decided to increase the load and see how I get on with that. And I was like, I wanted to match reps, and I was just like, when you just don't have it, I'm
Yeah.
just like, it's not there yet, so that's fine. I added 2.5 kgs, dropped a rep on every set, and that's okay. What I did do a little bit differently is obviously I'm still dealing with this like hip flexor strain type of thing, which I
Yeah.
think is slowly now improving. I think I can say that it's
Awesome.
certainly not getting worse, but it does get pissed off coming off the floor. That's the position it just doesn't like. And so I started from a rack, and that just seemed to allow me to stay a bit tighter and in a better position throughout the lift. And yeah, it's cool kind of sticking to these lifts for long periods of time, and I just want to hit numbers I've never hit before, like on the hack squat, which I think actually I am already maybe in that territory, but my form's a little bit different. But I think I'm in that territory, and then like I'm already in PR territory for that straight leg deadlift hip hinge. There's no way I've ever lifted this amount, which is really cool. And like a lot of lifts are just, yeah, they're in places they've never been before. Like I've never been this strong benching, dumbbell pressing. So it's really, really cool. It makes me think of what
Yeah.
Scott Stevenson says, like, if you want to be jacked, like, become a very impressive lifter in the gym. And for me, these are impressive, like, lifts. So it's, yeah, just nice seeing that come to the floor. And I think I'll be sharing a physique update soon because I took like some
Yeah.
formal ones from home, always with an upper body pump. So I have to mention that. But I always take them in off season with an upper body pump. But I'm almost certain it's the best I've looked. I'll actually, I don't know if I can show it quickly to you on screen, but you'll only be able to see the silhouette. But I've never seen my kind of V taper X frame look
Yeah.
as like
The X.
that front shot for me is never looked that good.
Hmm.
So I was really pleased with that. So yeah, I can't complain. Having to push food up now though, so I'd been sitting around 3,000. I say around 3,550 calories, pretty much. And I don't spot on hit that, but I'm pretty damn close. I have been for, I don't know how long I've been sitting there, but for a while, and I think I'm going to have to push it to 3,600 now, and just to help the body weight continue to creep up. But I am still gaining. It's just like at the moment, I think I'm maybe half a pound up on last month.
Okay.
Is it? I just would like to be closer to a pound just to be sure things are moving upwards, because I do want, and we know that surplus is more hypertrophic than being at maintenance. It's just I also don't want to rush it. But yeah, that's where I am.
What was I going to say? And I guess for you, that would just mean bumping up the first meal that you have of the day, would it? Where you kind of add that extra 50 calories or so.
Yeah, I don't really know where it's gone. I have changed how I eat though over the last. I guess it's a bit of an update because I was doing. I think last time we spoke about how I was eating. I was fasting in the morning until basically like at 10, 11,
Mm.
and then eating that and then training a couple of hours after that. Whereas now, just because of taking Ada to the vets regularly, I needed to get training in early, and that was happening every week. And I did it on Saturdays too to open up more of the day. So I've just moved my training to like between 10:30 I get to the gym. So I'm having a breakfast like first thing now, which I'm
Yeah.
actually really enjoying. As you know, I have my anyone in the UK, my protein mousse, like protein mousse, is unreal. The salted caramel one, not the chocolate one, in my opinion. The chocolate one's highly disappointing to me.
Mm.
And freeze it for like up to an hour, and it just goes thick, great texture. Anyway, I have that mousse along with I have like the naked bar, like the fruit and nut bar, basically, and an apple, and then like a Monster or the equivalent. I've been doing the
Yeah.
3D whatever they are drinks.
Mm.
So I do that, and then yeah, go train, and then come back and have the rest of my food as they were, like the cream of the croats, sorry,
Yeah.
at the croats again, and then I have like a salad with like salmon, eggs, or a kind of something like that, and then of course the Ninja Creamy to finish off the day. So yeah, I'm having probably more of those discretionary calories a little bit, like
Yeah.
just because I can. And it's previously, like months ago, it maybe was like, don't know if my appetite's in a place where it's the best idea to include those. Whereas now it's like, yeah, I can definitely have like, I was finishing off Karen's brownie, the protein
Nice.
brownie. I literally just had some of that. So that's all gone now. I've eaten the whole thing.
Nice. I actually tried putting the mousse in the freezer last night
Oh, yeah.
and really liked it. It makes it just that little bit firmer for me, and it was nicer almost it being just a little bit cooler as well. So I was just like, yeah, I've just
What
got to remember
flavor?
to put it in the freezer. That's all I've got to do. I sometimes forget, and I'm like, whoops.
What flavor was it? The chocolate
It
or salted?
it was a salted caramel,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
for whatever reason, to me, that one just is. I sometimes like, oh, I'll try the chocolate again. I'm like, nah, it's so not as good as the salted caramel. The salted caramel just absolutely slaps. There's just something about it. But yeah, as we spoke over the weekend, I'm a big texture person, it seems.
so
I like
big.
my thick textures. If you haven't done it, Mike, also with the Ninja Creamy, I don't know if you've tried using xanthan gum or the like yet.
I use xanthan gum, but I haven't tried
Okay.
guar gum.
Yeah, I don't think they
Nah,
both work similarly, but
yeah.
cocoa powder really makes a big difference for me. Like I really
Oh,
encourage 10 grams of cocoa powder.
okay.
Just makes it that little bit better to me.
Mm.
So yeah, anyway.
I've I've just got to be careful. It depends what if you've got a chocolate protein powder, cocoa powder works. But if you've got, say, if I put banana protein powder, well, I guess chocolate and banana
What?
would mix. But I guess, yeah, I guess it would
What
work.
doesn't chocolate go with?
True. Vanilla? No, I don't know. It does go with
I actually
vanilla, of
don't know.
course. Yeah,
Uh,
chocolate goes with everything pretty much.
I
Um,
can't think of any other updates on my end.
well, I'm glad. I'm
Yeah.
glad the kind of hip flexor strain is improving because when I saw your story about the deadlift, I was like, oh, I wonder how that's going. But one thing that came to mind when you were talking about that is similar with a lot of things. We have to create that environment for injuries to recover, and as long as we can create that environment while still doing, the things that we want to do, we're winning. And if that takes, if it takes a bit of time, it's fine as long as it's trending in the right direction.
The biggest thing for me, Mike, was just refining, almost like just keeping a diary, like a food diary, what foods are kind of leading to digestive distress. It was like that with training, like just identifying the lifts and even the ranges of motion of lifts that were irritating it and removing those. And kind of as soon as I like using the sissy squats now and like just permanently using those and not doing leg extensions seems to have really, really helped it as well. So yeah, basically just removing the offenders seems to have allowed it to like, hey, now it's not getting pissed off, which is weird because I don't even know how I don't know how I did it. It just must be it's probably an overuse thing.
It could have just be as simple as like you were pushing hard and it was just like overload in some ways, maybe just again we talked about tissues need a breather sometimes. Maybe it's just wrong place, overload, that sort of thing. Maybe it literally just was that.
I guess I guess one thing I can talk about as a bit of an update. I'm not sure about this, but I think it probably will be the case. I think we spoke about it when you came over last week, but just in terms of like considering competing next year or not. And I think just given how this year has been not the best of years, the year before that, as I've said so many times, like worst year of my life in many ways. I know I turned pro, like, and we had some great times. I definitely did. Though there were some real highlights, but it was a very tough year outside of bodybuilding. Again, this year has been brilliant for bodybuilding, but for life has not been ideal because where is she? She's behind us.
Yeah,
There
there
she
she
is.
is.
She's actually completely asleep, or she was. So yeah, it's not been ideal because of Ada and her cancer diagnosis and dealing with that. So I kind of want to give myself to Charlotte and to life next year so we can go on more travel, like travel more and live outside of bodybuilding. Like in my
Yeah.
head, I'd love to compete, but I think that in addition to thinking, hey, I'm at 185 pounds basically, pushing up to 190 is, I think, on the table for sure. I think I can hold that. I know I can hold that really well. There's not going to be a concern to me. And at the moment, I feel great, and training has never been like as productive as it's been. So I think just giving that extra time is going to be so productive to ensure that I'm competitive and very competitive as a pro. That's why,
Yeah.
well, I want to be, yeah, competitive as a pro. I think is a good target. I feel like I wasn't necessarily competitive last time in the pro shows I did, at least, which arguably were probably some of the hardest pro shows you could do in
Mm.
some regards. But I want to be like, hey, doing some whatever pro shows and being like, hey, that I'm in the mix, and I think that will guarantee it. So I'll probably push up to like 190,
Mm.
and then do a kind of a cleanup, get nice and lean, maybe down to like 180, something like that. Then very slow build, and then start a prep for 2027. And I think 2027 is when you're looking at as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be. I think that's a good mix, to be honest, because hopefully then we can do some similar shows or yeah.
That'd be really cool. I'd be so down for that. And I think you've
And
just
it will
got
come in
the
no time.
without question. Like it literally just feels like, 2026 will be here before we know it, and then all of a sudden it's like we have to plan for 2027 and prep. So
Yeah.
it's no time at all. Which yeah, and I think kind of like I don't know if we were talking about this last weekend, but as you get older and you've cemented that base, you've made a good amount of progress, you can probably compete more frequently. So again, taking a bit more time now isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. And maybe after 2027, again, you might compete every couple of years, and that could be the norm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like any competitor, it's the same for you, Mike. You just want to make sure you come back obviously better. I'd
Yeah.
hate to step on stage and just be like, "Oh, like I wish I'd just taken another year." And I think I'd be at risk of that because it's not like I often relate to Eric Helms, and he obviously turned pro and then took a year and then competed, which is what I was considering. But you have to consider with Eric is, and he dialed everything in and he
Yeah.
committed like a lot to the process. I feel like I kind of was doing that already,
Yeah.
so I didn't to, and you obviously could never know how much you're going to grow and whatever. But he made significant differences. I think he was 2 kilograms heavier on stage, and I need that sort of improvement. But realistically, am I going to be able to make that sort of improvement as Eric? I'm not sure over that short period of time. Whereas, yeah, another year might just give me that ability to do it. So,
Mm.
yeah, it's and like I said, compete. I have a few people. Well, no, I mean you're always going to have people competing, so that doesn't really change anything. But there's
Exactly. Like we're always competing against ourselves, and if we can always look back and say like I was better, I've made progress, like look at these pictures, then that's all you can hang your hat on at the end of the day. And if you happen to either come first or you happen to come third, fourth, or last, it's like, hey, I am visibly better. That's all we can ever do at the end of the day.
yeah,
Um,
Mike. I
I
have a feeling. Sorry, go for it.
No, no. I just the final thing on that note, I thought it would be nice to share because I really liked what you said about you were telling me about how you've kind of got tiers in pro. You've got kind of like your beginner tier, then you've got like a good pro bodybuilder, and then you've got like the elite. So like your Babacars and stuff, they're like your elite bodybuilders. Your good bodybuilders might be like your Andrew Chappelle's or whoever, and then you've got people who've maybe just turned pro and they're just not quite at that competitive standard yet. And I just really liked how striving to be, for a lot of us maybe, like striving to be a good pro is just such a worthy ambition. There's only going to be a select few who can have the potential to be that elite pro. So I really like that.
Yeah, there's levels in bodybuilding, and there's levels within the amateurs, and there's
Yeah.
levels within the pro ranks as well. Absolutely. Mike, this is a horrible thought. I don't know where I heard it, but someone said the thing that happened when I won my pro card is something along the lines of like that was the last show I ever would win.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, man, it's
But
not.
ultimately, we don't do it for that reason, right? You do it to be challenged and compete and like you said, be your ultimate best. And I've even said it to you as well, where I was like, hey, especially now, if I compete 2027 and I compete as a pro and I'm not in the mix at all, I would hang up my pro card and I would go back into the amateurs. And also, the cool thing is, and I've seen a lot of people do it this year. You can go and earn pro cards elsewhere, right? So
Mhm.
like, there's nothing meaning I can't try and I can be an amateur in the OCB now. They're in the
Yeah,
UK, right? So can do their shows. Obviously, there's the UK FBA with the MBW. So there's that, and like PCA, like there's like
yeah.
opportunities elsewhere to also compete as an amateur. So I talk about competing as a pro, but I'm not resigning to the fact that I'm only doing WNBF shows.
Mm, yeah. And I think that's important.
So,
Again, just enjoy being a bodybuilder at the end of
yeah,
the day. Don't kind of what's the word? Don't channel yourself into just being this one thing. It's like there's so much of like the world of bodybuilding to experience, and you might just have a whale of a time. So put ourselves out there, which is great.
I was thinking, Mike, because we're now doing these live, I feel like there should be something that we try and encourage interaction with our live audience.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there should be a segment of like, okay, this is the live segment of 10, 20 minutes where we answer live questions, for example. That could be something we do. I'm open to whatever people want to say, and even people who are live listening now, if you've got ideas, because that might be because obviously, otherwise, why are we doing it live? Like, I'm not really sure
True.
what the benefit of
I
that is,
know.
apart from the visual quality isn't quite as good when it uploads. So yeah, it's maybe we have a think about it.
Mm.
And but if we do see some good live questions, we can get to those. But if we're doing the segment news for the week, is there any?
Well, so this is what I was doing before we came on. I was just doing a little bit of homework, a little bit of like what's been going on. So my little small bits of news is one, do you remember Samuel Hartman?
Yes.
Yeah, so he's going to be making his NPC debut soon, I think. Well, maybe not actually, maybe not soon, but he's making his NPC debut at some point. He's looking big compared to how he used to look. So I thought that was interesting. And then secondly, we've got in November there is the ANBF Pro show, I think. So and the what is it, like the film and the social media and all of that kind of stuff looked pretty amazing, so that'll be quite fun to see what's going on there.
You just went on Natty News, didn't you?
And beyond the stage TV, of course.
It
There's...
literally took my two sources
Oh, did I?
of staying relevant in this space. Although, yeah, it depends what you want the news segment to be. Is it just bodybuilding news specific to competing, or is it like broader evidence-based fitness news? Yeah, it depends where you want that to go, because yeah, the dramas just end up coming in, and I'm kind of sick of what that element of the news. It's kind of similar to, I don't know if you ever tune into like BBC News, like here in the UK, obviously we have like BBC News or whatever. The news to me, whenever I would listen to it, it just always feels negative. It's just like, oh, these people died here. Oh, this terrible political party are doing this, and like so, like oh, inflation and all of this. So it's just like, man, it just really feels like it's highlighting all the negative things in the world, and I don't like it.
Mm,
And that's what it feels like when I go to like just the fitness space news. It's like, oh, who are we trying to bring down now? Like, who's screwed up now? And I just don't want to be part of that.
yeah. Yeah, no, I don't go out of my way to listen to the news. Like if it happens, something pops up, it might be like, oh, but I don't listen to the news for that very reason. I feel that it's very negative and very tainted. I like the idea of staying informed, and so my intention has always been to find informed sources that tell me what's going on with maybe like the political situation or whatever, but not like BBC News or whatever, which is like, oh,
You said your intention. That makes it sound like it's not something you do.
yeah, I haven't done it yet.
I was
Exactly.
going to say, Mike, what's the news? Because I don't know where you're getting that from. But yeah, it's also part of that, right? Everything's like, what's biased? Like most things are biased a certain way, and especially in politics, that sort of thing. And you certainly can't use social media as your news source, because I mean, your feed is just feeding you what you want to see. I remember Brexit, and I thought, oh, there's no way we're going to vote to leave the
Yeah.
EU, and because of my feed, but we did because my feed's only feeding me what I already kind of think in many ways. Well, it comes back to that book. I don't know if you've read it or listened to it. It's very good, actually. I think it like very pertinent to a lot of discussions that you hear. But it's actually, I don't know if it's called this, but it's along the lines of what you see is all there is.
Oh, I've not heard of that book actually.
Which there's a lot of books where the title kind of gives you everything, right? It's like, of
Yeah.
course, what you see is all there is.
Duh.
I get it. Or the subtle art of not giving a fuck, or
Yeah.
what's another one? Extreme. Uh,
Ownership?
what's it called? Ownership. Yeah, extreme ownership. That's the one. It's like the title kind of gives you the whole premise of the entire thing.
Yeah.
But you read it and it kind of gives you examples, and it is good.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you though on both the news and maybe fitness news. I kind of my take on it as well is that it kind of feels like every other post is about like, oh my God, so and so's looking wild or incredible or wow or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, this new 17-year-old, look at him kind of thing, phenom, blah blah blah. It's like, oh yeah, and again, but it's hard. But I think coming back to what we should do, the you know news updates kind of segment is, I think it could be anything. I think we should just leave it open to whether it's evidence-based stuff or whether it is maybe more competition specific. I guess it's rounding to a close, but we still are kind of in the mix of, the bodybuilding season, as it were. So, things are still coming up.
Yeah, just highlights for us. I just don't think it's worth like again going to. Yeah, it's just highlight. I think highlights to us is what that segment should be, not trying to find something to talk about type of thing. It's just something
Yeah,
we haven't gone out of our way to find something to talk about. It's like our news that isn't about us, but we've seen that
yeah.
sort of thing. So yours could be anything physio related, someone you spoke to or saw, yeah, that sort of thing.
Right.
I think also, hey, what's his name? What have I forgotten? Saitama, One Punch Man. That's the one. I think One Punch Man. I should remember. I think their new seasons come out. That's kind of
Really?
come under criticism.
Oh,
On things I'm watching. I don't know if you've watched anything. Something I've been watching and really enjoying lately is Squid Games.
Squid
Have you?
Games.
You've heard of
Is
it, right?
Yeah, is it like yeah, I have heard of Squid Games. It's basically like where people compete for like a minute. Is it kind of like Takeshi's Castle in a way? Like or Ninja? I have heard of
With
Squid
a
Games.
shit ton of death.
Is it death? Is it to do with death? Is it? Oh,
Yes, there's a lot of murdering and death and gruesomeness and
okay. Maybe I'm getting things
emotions.
mixed up.
But there is a cash prize at the end of it.
Okay, there you
But
go.
but like they have to go through different trials and tribulations that basically they're just looking to survive each of them. So it's a bit Hunger Games esque in that sense. And yeah,
Mhm.
at the end you get this massive crash prize. So I don't know what season this is now, but I'm slowly making my way through like the final season, and there's just some very spoiler alert, and this isn't going to be an extreme spoiler because I don't know anyone's names, but essentially this mother ends up murdering her son at some point,
Oh,
and it's
really?
just like brutal. And then this
Wow.
woman in the game gives birth, and then her then baby is part of the game, and
Oh,
she ends up dying, and the baby's just there. Yeah, it's pretty brutal. But I
wow.
love these sort of gruesome things. Charlotte hates this sort of thing, whereas I'm like, this is why I like Game of Thrones because I had some like absolutely brutal elements. But yeah, that's why I'm watching. Have you managed to watch anything recently?
Yeah, so I was gonna say I've started watching Demon Slayer.
Mm.
Really enjoying
How are you
it.
liking it? Oh,
I'm
cool.
really enjoying it. So I'm only a couple of episodes in, but already I'm like, I'm really, really enjoying this. I just feel I needed a break after watching Attack on Titan. Do you ever get it when you're so invested in the characters, you just need a little bit, you need to do something completely unrelated or just have a bit of space to like forget?
Maybe I get a
No.
bit too much like watching anime, and I have to switch to like I don't know, Squid Games. I don't know what that was called, like normal TV
Yeah.
versus like animated TV. Um, yeah, that would be the way I'd relate to that at least.
So
But
yeah,
the first episode of Demon Slayer got me hooked,
mm,
and the
yeah.
animation was great. Even on that first episode, it only gets better.
That's so good because literally from the first episode, the snow, well, and the like you said, the animation, I was like, wow, this is so much better, next level.
Yeah. Although the animation in Attack on Titan is incredible,
Yeah.
especially well throughout really. But yeah, Demon Slayer is very well known for its like epic animation. It's funny you mentioned the snow because I literally can remember that part of it, like being like, wow, the snow, like how it's coming down. It just yeah, and it fills you with loads of emotion. So yeah, I think you'll enjoy that one.
I like as soon as the first two Demon Slayers came on, like I'm already liking their vibe. So do you remember in that first episode, the demons? I can't remember his name. The Demon Slayer with long black hair, and he's about to kill I'm blanking on the sister who is it
Oh
Tanjiro's
god,
sister?
yeah, Chandro Nezuko.
Nezuko. So the guy who was about to kill Nezuko, he gives me slight Vegeta vibes in a way.
Hmm. Maybe yeah, I could see that. He's not. He is kind of a main character, but not like a main character. He's one
Okay.
of the Hashir. Oh, I can't even remember what they're called. Not Hashirama. That's a person. Uh, the elite demon slayers. Anyway, yeah, it's good. And they all have these cool capes and everything, right?
Yeah. So already it's giving me good vibes. I'm excited for it.
Cool. Should we
Yeah.
get to just 10 minutes of? We've had a few questions come through on the live, so we do like get through some of those, and then we'll go to the ones that are from the hypertrophic time chamber. Which, by the way, guys, that is where if you want to guarantee your question to get answered, it's my broadcast group over on Instagram. Just hit Revive Stronger, and you'll see it in my bio. You can just join, and yeah, I'll put in a question box most weeks, and get your questions in there. And yeah, I don't post that much in there. It's not like you're going to get tons of spam. I just now and then put stuff in there that I find interesting. But let's highlight. This is just a very quick one because I imagine it's going to be an obvious answer for us both. Have either of you watched the movie Akira? Super crazy animation, also really good movie. I have not, but I have heard of it.
No. Ah, I'm gonna make a note of it. Yeah.
Then we have from Addy. Any tips regarding nutrition for athletes who trains first thing in the morning during prep? Should they aim for intra-workout carbs? Go for it,
So, the most important thing, as we often say, is just don't be hungry. However, if you're in prep, particularly deep in prep, some form of carbohydrates is probably going to be useful. Intra-workout carbs probably make sense. Although sometimes what I advise to clients and people is even if you just have a piece of fruit before you go, so that could be like some grapes or a kiwi, or maybe even a banana. But the things like grapes and kiwis and stuff, because they've also got a high water content, but a little bit hydrating at the same time, they don't really, you don't have to be super kind of ravenous to eat them. You quite easy to consume. And then so sometimes that might be just enough if your session isn't going to be super long. But if you know you're going to have a really hard session, or a long session, then I think considering some intra-workout carbs, if you can't have breakfast, that is. So yeah, that would be my general thoughts.
Yeah, I think pre-workout nutrition, like you said, a lot of people focus on having carbohydrates, thinking that that's going to impact performance during that session. And it could, but in many cases it won't. One of the reasons for that being is it takes time for glycogen to be stored. This is why you don't on peak week, you don't have peak day, because realistically glycogen to be fully stored into the muscles takes like 24 hours at least, which is why the rapid backload, that's already rapid the day before the show. So if you're trying to think, an hour before I go and work out, those carbohydrates are going to be in your digestive system. They're not going to be stored. However, they can give you readily available blood sugar, and there are faster digesting carbohydrate sources to get hold of. So also in many cases outside of prep, obviously you're already well fed. Your glycogen stores are relatively high, or you have plenty of body fat, and you aren't the times of which pre-workout carbohydrates help the most is when you're in a glycogen depleted state. So like in prep, very lean, and first thing in the morning, that's when you are probably your most glycogen depleted. So if you are to have carbohydrates, you want to kind of get them in ASAP and make them easy to digest. So that is like your dextrose type of thing. But in prep, you also don't want loads of liquid carbohydrates because they're not satiating, and that's not ideal. So it's a tricky one. And then also, obviously, higher volume sessions, that's going to benefit more from having intra-workout carbohydrates. And I think a lot of the carbohydrates at this point, like I said, hey, Steve, you said they take a while to get stored and assimilated. Correct. But they also act as blood sugar. And you want readily available blood sugar to be able to concentrate within workouts. If you've ever had like low blood sugar, like you crash, you can't train. Hunger also increases, so it'll help abate hunger by keep your blood sugar levels up, and it'll allow you to concentrate within a session. So all that being said, it kind of depends. You're training first thing, but how soon first thing? If it's like an hour after you wake up, you can definitely get some food in, and I would recommend some solid food. And I think fruit is a great idea, like you said. Like fruit, easy to digest, but also if you have like apple, like berries, these sort of things, lots of fiber that help keep you fuller as well at this period of time. So I think doing something like that could be very beneficial. If it's so soon that you can't eat, then doing some liquid carbohydrates is a good move, and just budget that in within your day to what's realistic that's going to allow you to adhere. Even having some flavored water
Yeah.
during your workout is not a bad idea. There's been studies on people like carbohydrate mouth washing where they've seen a performance improvement just from having that. And so they take in the carbohydrates and they spit them out, so they're not actually consuming any calories really. And I think that's due to some kind of neurological and maybe dopaminergic pathway that gives them benefits. And so you might get the same effect from sweeteners, from just something sweet within your workout. So I definitely do that. And then, of course, like you said, hydration is important pre-workout. So some keys, big keys for everyone is not going to training hungry and being hydrated. Then a bigger key for someone in prep is trying to get some carbohydrates in that are easy to digest kind of as soon as you can. If you're not training immediately first thing, having some fruit is a great idea. If it's sooner, then a liquid carbohydrate, or failing a liquid carbohydrate, if that's not realistic given your calories, at least doing some artificial sweetener of just some sugar-free squash, or I do flavored creatine, is a good idea too. I don't think there's anything else I have.
Very comprehensive. My only thought was, do you think also having, say, like squash or flavored creatine, flavored water, do you think also that I sometimes find with those things it abates my hunger a little bit as well? So do you think that also that could be a potential helpful effect as well? Like if it's abating a bit of hunger, that's useful?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, why like it's only beneficial there. And
Yeah.
then maybe salting. I don't weigh it out, but maybe it's a gram of salt within about 700 mils of water. With that helps to just keep you hydrated too.
Yeah.
And especially when you're in prep, and especially first thing when you might be more dehydrated, but in prep when you are having lower blood pressure, a bit of salt can help to kind of make sure your blood pressure doesn't get too low, but also you're not eating as many processed foods, so that can help to kind of give you a bit more sodium through your diet. And yeah, abating hunger for sure. Just it might be related to just the fluid in your stomach type of kind of stretching some of it maybe.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was super comprehensive answer.
I've thought
I
about
now
this,
feel
Mike.
very inadequate.
No, you gave the foundation, and I just tried to build upon that.
Awesome.
We have a question here, Mike, that I'm going to read to you because I just went on a complete ramble. From Daniel C. Hello, guys.
Oh.
Any new studies on fasting/water fasting? My goal is to promote as much autophagy and fat loss via cardio and calorie reduction, and fasting has always been men's best ally for that.
Interesting. So I'm not aware of any new studies on fasting, water fasting, particularly as it pertains to autophagy. So yeah,
Can I
so
tell you
I
my
guess
thoughts, Mike?
yeah, go on, tell me.
It's so out of my
Yeah.
scope of understanding and knowledge base that I don't even have a good answer. When I see autophagy, I automatically think like snake oil. That's what comes to mind. So it's not something I focus on.
I've only heard autophagy in relation to fasting, cell death and related to, longevity, in that longevity kind of space type thing. But like I said, it's very much outside of our wheelhouse. There was someone who I kind of became aware of through Lane Norton called I can't remember, but I'm blanking on his name now. Began with an A, I think, who did a lot of research into like cancer, and he did some fasting research, but I can't remember his name. But he would be the person where I'd be like, follow him, see what he says.
Again, it's not something I've driven into, but most of what I see talked about here are like biohacking methods that are, like I said, snake oil. Like they aren't legit evidence-based protocols. Like water fasting just sounds like a horrible thing to do unless you're doing it for like religious reasons and you've got a reason for it. It's not something I'd mess around with.
No.
The body wants to be hydrated. So yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've got one final question here from S21 Ultra 2. Is that like Super Saiyan 21 Ultra? I don't know. I'm trying to find a Dragon Ball related link. I'm 158 centimeters. My body easily gains weight. I do cutting phases, but I am always scared of gaining weight and do a lean bulk. I transition to maintenance, I feel bloated and mentally want to cut. Well, there's a lot of thoughts there.
Yeah, I guess first thought is one, do you have a coach? If not, probably best to get a coach, or maybe even actually, what is, are there any underlying reasons? Is there any, how's your relationship with food? When you say like you feel bloated and mentally want to cut, I say my thoughts then go to what what are the types of foods that you're eating first and foremost. Again, like if you are constantly in a cutting phase, like are you just really is the person overemphasizing very high voluminous foods? Are they, are certain food groups not agreeing with them? I think looking into that a little bit, is there a psychological component to that as well? That fat phobia, that body dysmorphia. I think ultimately you've also then got to take a step back and say, what are your goals? Because if you want to stay at a certain leanness and like you're not too fussed about gaining muscle, it's like, hey, do you know what? I'm very happy with my current body composition where I'm at. Just hold it. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to go through a lane gain phase. But if you do have a goal of wanting to build muscle and it is a priority for you to build your physique a bit more, then these are the sorts of things that you need to address. And I think probably seeking out if there's any underlying behaviors which and poor relationship with food, then it's about seeking through a professional to address those things. Or if not, then by the very least getting a coach, because it sounds like this isn't something that you can address on your own. You're going to be stuck in a vicious cycle over and over again. You need someone to help you out of that. So that's what I'd probably suggest to this person.
Michael, I think what you really did well to identify there is how much context we don't have
Yeah.
to be able to truly help this person. Uh, but you can almost get the sense of angst that they have there and that kind of anxiety surrounding gaining, which I think, again, you really clearly highlighted in terms of like goals. Like if you have the goal of gaining muscle, you're going to have to gain weight at some point. And one thing that I'll mention that's just small in addition to what you said, because I think you pretty much covered everything, is just knowing that when you go from dieting to maintenance or to a surplus, you're going to gain weight. And that isn't negative because there is some positive weight. You could frame it positive weight regain because you're regaining muscle glycogen, you're gaining just food weight, food bulk, and you could be gaining from just water weight from sodium retention, hopefully not regaining muscle, but all those things are happening. And that's all just lean body weight, basically. And so expect that. And I always talk about, or always, I haven't spoken about it for a while, but that kind of 1 to 2 week ignore rule on the scale when you're transitioning between phases. And I think there's a bit of trust in the process and being patient that has to happen. Yeah, that's the only additional thoughts.
Yeah, he did write up a little follow up at the end there as well, where I think it sounds like, yeah, there you go. So clean single ingredients, a lot of veggies. I think all of those reasons, dysmorphia, some insecurities. I keep thinking I'll never lose weight. Again, I think having someone to, walk you through the process a little bit. I think don't expect perfection as well. A lot of these insecurities and these feelings, they take time to unravel. It's not going to happen in one go. And so I think, giving yourself time to work through these things, I think, is really helpful. And something that you also reminded me of, Steve, there. That was it. Right. So I think when this can be a habit that develops insidiously, but when we are cutting, we naturally become a bit physique focused because and again, if we're prepping as bodybuilders, we're very physique focused because we're getting leaner, we're seeing changes relatively fast. But then when we are going more into a massing phase or when we're trying to gain weight, I think switching the focus. So not being as focused on the physique, but focused on the performance and focused on having energy, focused on just feeling good, and I think switching that focus, I think, can be very helpful, especially because, the changes that you see when you're cutting is quick, whereas actually the changes you're seeing when you're gaining are, you don't see very much change, and so you've got to have that switch in focus.
Yeah, focusing on performance over the physique is so important during those periods of time. And yeah, sometimes it is a case of putting it into hands of someone you trust, like you mentioned right at the start, having that coach in your corner that you're like, right, tell me what to do, because I just, as much as I try and self-coach, I can't get myself to do it because I always convince myself of doing something different. And I always say, especially for anyone actually, coaching is like a walkthrough guide to a console game. Like, yeah, you can try and do it yourself and that can be fun, but it's going to take you 2, 3, 4 times, and you're going to miss all the golden packages and the secrets, and maybe finishing it with in the best place possible. So yeah, it's like that really. I think we can probably get to our
Let's do it.
hypertrophic time changer questions, can't we?
Let's go. Let's hop into the hypertrophic
So
time chamber.
is it me or you to ask? I'm not
I
even
think
sure who asked
I
that
feel
one.
like you've asked quite a lot of questions, so I think I'm
Yeah,
gonna
let you go.
give me a shout. Right. Okay. So give me 2 seconds.
I think we're
Right.
with Transform with TG
Got it.
is the one
Right.
I'm on.
So, what's your take on the best approach for a trainee whose tendons can't seem to take a high amount of weekly training volume?
I laugh and we laugh because this sounds like a question for Mike
Yeah.
mostly. So let's see. You can test me on my kind of knowledge surrounding tendons. So, what's your take on the best approach for a trainee whose tendons can't seem to take high amount of weekly training volume? Well, I think the obvious answer would be to reduce the training volume because you're not recovering from it. But that might not be the best solution, because obviously if you're reducing the training volume, you are reducing the training stimulus and the growth stimulus, and maybe you don't have to do that. You might have to, but you could look at your execution or your programming. So it could be exercise selection that's leading to it. It could be the range of motion that you're using. It could be the execution in terms of, are you quite ballistic within your training? Are you quite controlled? More ballistic would probably put more of the stress onto the joint and connective tissues. What rep ranges are you using? Are you using very heavy loads? Again, that's going to put more strain on the joint and connective tissue versus higher reps. So I think I would question your execution and exercise selection. And then if you're already picking joint friendly methods, I would then look at reducing your training volume. That's probably my thoughts. Anything
Yeah.
more, Mike?
No, spot on. Like,
Ugh.
yeah, you nailed everything that I would say. And then, so it would be kind of, ticking the boxes. So as you said, looking at exercise selection, looking at range of movement, looking at tempo. If all of those things are, we've checked all of those boxes and we're still struggling, right, look to the overall training volume. I always tend to say tendons like consistency. And the biggest thing that can lead people to a bit of a boom and bust cycle is that they get a bit of tendon pain, so they stop everything. The tendons become deconditioned, then they can't tolerate as much volume. Then they think, oh, the pain's gone away, so I'm going to go straight back into what I was doing. And it's just end this cycle. Whereas if you can keep things as consistent as possible, but find tendon friendly methods, we're golden. Then you're keeping that sort of tissue fitness, if you will. And it might be just by simply doing that, you're creating that environment for any kind of tendon problems to just resolve. We're good. But then if reducing volume, if finding joint friendly methods, if all of those things aren't, it's still not going away, then I'd be like, right, let's try and find some more physiotherapeutic type exercises. Like maybe we have to do some isometrics, maybe we have to do some tendon specific stuff to give it some more capacity, and then kind of go down that route.
Very nice. And I like that comment on tendon fitness. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I really like the idea of, not suddenly dropping everything and then suddenly putting it all back on. Because, like you said, boom and bust. Not ideal. Shall I ask you the next question, Mike?
Yeah, go for it.
So this one is from Sean Brown 91. I believe I had a consultation with Sean and we spoke about this a little bit, but I think we can expand upon it here. So can you expand upon how you auto-regulate volume? Because I think this is a good discussion to have regardless.
So I guess I more than anything, I kind of look to myself anecdotally with this, and I just think, well, I know that we have like a bit of a baseline for what kind of my volume might be. Um, and then really I would ask myself questions from there as to how was the stimulus? How do I feel that I am, firstly, am I recovering from that? And if I am, do I feel excited to do another set? Do I feel like it would aid the stimulus? Do I feel like my performance would and the quality of the execution would still be there? If all of those things are yes, and I have the capacity to do so, then I might increase it. However, I might decrease it if I'm not recovering on time. If like in the phase where I am now, we kind of, right, I've just come off the back of a deload. I've naturally just down regulated some of my sets. I've also got a little bit of a cold. I'm coming off the back of, I've still got another injury. You know, all of those things, I want to be much more cautious with my volume. And so I'm actually down regulating some of my sets. So, yeah, that's kind of where I would start things off.
Yeah. Gosh, this I have done posts on this, but I think I could do like a full post just on auto-regulation of volume, and because I think it would help me layer my thought process into this. And you mentioned, so the first thing I would look at for auto-regulating volume, or you almost have to, bless you, consider no, because that's part of auto-regulating volume. So I guess, okay, there's layers to it. That's the way I'm going to think about it. So the first layer is, am I performing well? Performing well means you're able to at least match last week's performance. If you're doing that, then you can be fairly confident that you're recovered. All things being equal, techniques the same, all of that. So you're at least matching last week's performance. Then you can look at, within this session, how is my volume tolerance? God, yeah, I'm really struggling for some reason to say it in a really systematic way. So no, I'd look at, you said stimulus. So some of those biofeedback things. So during this session, how is this muscle doing in terms of the pump and disruption that it's experiencing? Am I getting a solid amount of those? So like, hey, my chest is pretty full. It's like the highest, but it feels like I've done something, or my back feels heavy. It feels tight. I've definitely worked it pretty damn hard. It feels like it's had a good amount of work done there. So you get some of that less objective feedback. So you get the objective feedback from performance. You get some subjective feedback from your stimulus. So pump disruption, and then also the fatigue side of things. So joint and connective tissue fatigue. How are those things doing? Are they low? Because you probably don't want them too high. Or if they are high, then that gives you an idea of where you should go with your volume. And then also considering kind of, how am I recovering between sessions? Have I been recovering ahead of time, or just on time? Or am I under recovered going into sessions, or like still holding on to a bit of lingering fatigue? So you get that. And then also considering, how am I recovering within my session? Will changing my volume here impact my performance later in the session in a negative fashion? Because you don't want to add something to a set earlier in your session and then impact performance later in the session, because that's just undone what you tried to do. You tried to add stimulus you've taken away from later down the line. So there's many elements there to consider. So I'd be thinking about all of that. And part of, I think it also is, we've mentioned like the physiological biofeedback is the psychological, like you said. Do I feel engaged to do another set and could perform well? Or do I feel like another set would be like a lot of effort, where it's almost like it's exponentially fatiguing from a psychological perspective? Like, I think if a lot of my lower body compounds, maybe all of them are at 3 sets. Thinking about doing a 4th set on any of those days is just like, I'm not there. And I feel fatigued and beat up. So I'm also thinking, can I handle more volume, or am I near my volume limit? Some of these things we have in a very systematic way within our spreadsheets with clients, so we can get this feedback from people, because it really helps us all to regulate their volume. But they're some of the things I'm thinking about in regards to like was regulating volume. So some objective, some subjective, and then performance metrics. Another performance metric that I haven't mentioned is looking at performance drop off set to set. So if I'm seeing a big performance drop off, that's a good sign that that muscle is being really fatigued, because otherwise it will be holding performance. Whereas if I'm dropping a rep, then more than likely I'm not causing that much fatigue. And so it might be that it can tolerate a bit more. So you'll probably find those muscles that have a higher volume tolerance, again, don't fatigue as fast, as you don't drop as many reps set to set. I think like I said, I feel like I want to do a post on that, because I have lots of like thoughts that are coming through my mind, and I'm like, oh, if I could systematize this in a written out format, I think it would really help. But there's some of the things I use in addition to, I just expanded upon what you said basically, Mike.
No, you really brought to light there just how many different, like you said, layers or elements there are to this type of thing. And I think it's actually really important. One of the things, in addition to the subjective and objective, that I really liked about what you said is having that more of a long-term picture of how it's going to affect you later in the session. Because I don't think people think about that. They just think, oh, I'm going to add an extra set here, and then they don't think about the consequences either that session or the next day or the next weeks. How are you going to sustain that moving forward? So I liked it.
Yeah, it's an extra layer that people definitely don't consider, is that like second, I don't know what the word for it would be, but it's not just here today, it's tomorrow, next session, next week. Can I sustain this long term? Because for sure, even for both you and me, Mike, we could do more volume this week. We could have added more sets.
Oh, for sure.
But could we continue to do that the next week? Like I'm quite near, like we talk about that cliff edge. I'm pretty close to that. I'm almost certain if I, again, added almost anything in my session just now, it would have a negative impact going forward. So sometimes with that in mind, I will add sets to the last, if I am going to add a set and I'm unsure, I might add it to the last exercise in that session, because then I'm like, well, I haven't got anything more for this muscle where it has to perform. So then I can be a bit more confident that it's not going to be negative. Was there a funny comment in the, I saw you smiling at something.
So I looked ahead to Barnaby B10's question.
Oh, this next question. I should
me?
ask. Yeah, let's go to this one. This one's a fun one. Right. After that quite serious one. What I realized, Mike, is I was just thinking about, I don't know why I was thinking about this, but I was thinking about my social media presence. And I was like, and I don't know if I think I am in general. You'll be able to confirm this. I think I'm quite a serious person. And I'm like, I think my social media content comes across really seriously.
It's just very professional. You're very good at just like providing information and, talking a lot about your coaching, your passion, which is bodybuilding. I wouldn't say you're serious, but it's just professional, I would say.
I wouldn't serious. I don't necessarily think it's negative, but maybe I think I'd love to hear Charlotte's answer, because I think she'd be like, "You are the most serious person ever. You need to lighten up." I think maybe sometimes I do. I don't mean to be that way, but sometimes humor escapes me, and I don't mean it to be that way. Anyway, to lighter news, let's go to. Are you happy with this question, Mike?
Yeah, go for it. Fire away.
Okay, cool. Barnaby B10 asks, Mike is single. We need to find him a lady friend. Steve, how did you meet your partner, and how did you explain what you do and bodybuilding life? Damn it, I thought this was a question for you.
Oh, so did I. I didn't read it fully. I just saw the first line. This is totally flipped.
But on that first line, how do you feel about that, Mike?
How do I feel about being single and needing to find a lady friend? I'm on it. I'm on the dating websites as of this week. So we'll see what happens, right? So yeah. And it's good. It's similar to
exciting times.
It is exciting times, and kind of similar. I think I was saying last weekend, similar to the challenge that I gave myself regarding like eating different foods, eating something different. I don't know if people can relate to this, but for me at least, dating is a little bit of practice, and when you haven't done it for a while, it's kind of like, oh god, I'm a bit like nervous, or like I'm thinking about this a little bit more. So just getting out there a little bit and just chatting with different people, I think will be good. So yeah, watch this space, Barnaby.
It's exciting. I'm excited for you, because someone's just asked, how old are these two? I think they're referring to us. We're 35, Adam, on the live stream. I wonder, I think so, actually I don't know if people sometimes think. I think some. I'm not sure because you try and determine someone's age, not just you can do it just off visuals, but then you also do it based off how they're speaking
Mm,
because sometimes some people speak much older than what they look,
yeah.
but also some people look much older than they speak.
Mm.
I don't know why immediately someone who comes to mind is Milo Wolf. He speaks and looks older than he is. I can't remember his age. I think he might be 23, 24.
Mm.
So he's actually much younger. I think many would think of him in his, I don't know, late 20s to 30s or something. So, yes.
Yeah. And
And now Adam's asked our training age.
training age. So I think my training age, hang on. So let's say 17, like 18, 18, 19.
Mine's pretty much 20. Yeah, I was pretty much 16, so yeah, not quite 20, but almost 2 decades. So we've got a lot of training experience actually. Pretty
Yeah.
damn consistent throughout that period of time too. I think you are as well.
Yeah, it fluctuated, right? So it wasn't just like advanced specialist bodybuilding all the time. It would be like powerlifting, bit of strongman, a bit of this. So it was kind of fluctuating, but training's always been an anchor in my life since, like you said, 17 or so. Um, you should write to JP for his format, date by JP. I don't get it.
I don't. JP is Jordan Peters,
Yeah.
and something by JP. Something I can't think what the saying is, but it's something by JP. Is it
Oh,
trained by
trained by
JP?
JP. Yeah.
Jesus Christ! There you go, date by JP. Anyway, uh, so shall I answer Barnaby's question? How did I meet my partner? So
Yeah.
I met Charlotte at work, basically. But interestingly enough, I was trying to make it obvious that I was interested in her, but she wasn't getting my signals. And I went on the dating apps because I was like basically giving up on her and also try and make her a bit jealous. And yeah, I actually, my experience using dating apps was very positive. And I said to you, Mike, I only went on 3 dates. Well,
Mm.
I met 3 different people. I went on multiple dates with one person. And it was really confidence boosting for me because it's way out of my comfort zone. And if dating apps didn't exist, I don't know how I'd end up dating people because it's like, I have to go and talk to people. Like, I don't know if they want to be approached. Whereas on a dating app, you have that kind of mutual consent type of thing. So yeah, I think it's going to be really, really positive for you. It definitely gave me a lot of confidence and yeah, put me out my way outside my comfort zone, but in the best way possible.
Mm. I I actually really like Bumble at the moment. So I'm using kind of a combination of Bumble and Hinge. I like Bumble because I similar to yourself maybe, but I'm not very good at picking up cues and when it relates to that sort of thing. So sometimes if someone likes you, then you know like, ah, okay, right. At least I know they're interested.
How does Bumble work? Is it when someone? Because I only had experience with. I did plenty of fish, I think, on websites, but I didn't really use that properly. Did
Mm.
Tinder, and that was just swiping and you match, and then you can converse. I don't know if it still works that way. How does Bumble work?
Bumble, essentially the woman makes the first move. So if you both
You
like
told me
each
this.
other, then she has to make the first move.
How many conversations are on Bumble so far?
One.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, you
So
only
far.
started just recently, right?
Yeah. Monday. So I know people will be like a ton better than me. Some people might be like, "Oh, I've had 15 already or whatever," but
I have
slow and
no
steady
idea.
wins the race.
Women are hard to. I remember even on Tinder when we matched, it was like I had to find the right message, the first message, because they'd never send you a message. You'd have to send them because that's just how life goes with men and women often. And then I remember like I'd send people messages, they never come back to me. I'd try sending jokes or like saying you a dog or cat person. And the number of people that like ignored me or like that's a terrible joke, I was just like, oh god, you're crushing me.
Yeah, and do you know what? Today even I looked at someone's profile and I liked something and I could have sent a message, but I didn't. And I was like, Mike, just write something, just send a message. And I was just being way too like timid. And I was like, Mike, don't just like something, write a message, even if it's shit, just write something.
Just don't leave a million emojis.
Yeah, I know. I'm so bad at that. Over emoji, death by emoji.
Benita says men are hard work too. I know I'm
Agree.
hard work, that's for sure, especially male bodybuilders, but we're definitely we're a specific taste, I think. Right. So,
Right. Shall I
next
ask
question.
Adams underscore garage underscore gym? He asks, how do you manage nutrition and training between shows when you're already as lean as you need to be?
Great question. That's a great place to be when you're as lean as you need to be, because you can quite literally be in that kind of perma peaked sort of state and you can coast around maintenance. You might have to, because the body's very plastic at this point, you might have to manipulate calories to stay around maintenance. As in, you might have to pull back some days if you start finding your body weight going up and you softening out, or you might have to increase calories even if you start seeing, hey, some people just hit that, their metabolism just starts ramping up and they just start kind of going through calories, which is the ideal position to be in often, where you can just keep building food up and glycogen storage improves and actually the look just gets better and better. So yeah, I'd almost approach that period of time a little bit like a reverse diet, where typically the old reverse diet would be, oh, you finish your shows, now you slowly creep your calories up to maintenance. And you can do a very similar approach, but more appropriately timed when you're still in prep. So you could creep calories up towards maintenance. So you can hold this just, again, perma-peaked look. When we're thinking about what you're trying to achieve in peak week, you're just trying to basically get full glycogen stores. It's like, that's the main thing, or even slightly like, well, as full as possible, basically. And that's what you're doing here in that sense. So with training, I think you can then just auto-regulate it and train as you have been, but maybe even take on a little bit more, regain some lost fullness or even muscle size, just as ever when you are going into these shows, like at least half the week back off, deload your training, especially legs, anything with a lot of muscle damage, heavy eccentrics, kind of tapering those pretty early so you don't kind of go sore into the show. But yeah, I don't know if I've missed anything there, Mike.
The only thing that came to mind is the length of time between shows, because if you've got, I don't know, like a couple of months or more between shows, then maybe
Jesus, you need to restart your prep.
then yeah, exactly. But if it's like just a week or a couple of weeks, then everything you said applies.
Yeah, Matt. I am so in favor of making sure you have like at most an 8 week window of shows,
Mm,
because inevitably, even with an 8 week window for that first show, you're not going to be like, you're not going to be as lean as you should be or could
mm,
be. But if you are, by the end of that 8 week period, you're going to be over dieted,
yeah.
because there's only so long you can maintain a shredded physique and a stage ready physique, because to analogize it, you're basically on fire at that point.
Mhm.
And you can dose the fire out a little bit by refeeding and having calories higher, but you're still burning and you're still fatigued at that point because you're below your lower intervention point, right?
Yeah.
So your body is not, it's not you can't have homeostasis down there. It's not homeostasis. You're in a stressed state. So yeah, anyway, it's a random side note.
No, but I think it's a good side note, because you do sometimes see, as an example, WNBF first timers. Some people compete in the first timers, and then they'll come back and they'll compete at the supernaturals, or something of that nature. Or you might have competed earlier in the year, and then you've qualified for worlds, and it's like, oh, you want to go to worlds or whatever, and they're tough decisions sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important. That's why I think they may have, why some people may have changed it, some federations that is, where they had qualifiers and then they have their finals. But if you qualify at like the first qualifier, they're often in what, June?
Yeah.
And then the finals are in November. It's like, that's, you're not going to go to finals then, are you? Or, I mean, you could plan to have a break and eat up and then bring yourself back down, but that's not, yeah, that's not going to be productive. So a lot of people then do the late qualifiers, but then it's like everyone's doing them. So I think that's why a lot of shows, they either had like one qualifier or they moved the qualifiers or reduced them, or they just had one big show basically. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Right.
Right. Next question is from Aaron Busby. I think your man, your
That's
client
right.
there.
Hello,
If
Aaron.
you could have the physique of a fictional character, who would it be?
Oh, what a great question. So, Oh, tough one. So I you'd probably just have to go with like Goku, I think.
That was. This is such a. I don't know why this is making me laugh so much. I'm like, this is like answering, what's your favorite ice cream? Vanilla. Goku is like the equivalent of vanilla.
Oh.
Just a safe bet.
I know,
But
sorry.
that's fair enough. I'm gonna go Future Trunks.
Future Trunks. Okay, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
just you know when he comes in, is like I've got the picture up
Yeah.
there of him in his like vest, and he's got the sword, and his hair's like up, and I'm just like, or even down, he looks just fucking badass, man. That's
Yeah.
like aspirational. But Broly is like probably the most jacked Dragon Ball Z character there is. So that would not be a bad one.
I think Broly's really jacked, but I wouldn't want to be Broly. I think maybe it sounds weird, but he's almost. I wouldn't want to be that jacked actually for Broly. How mad does that sound?
He's very big.
Yeah.
What you one you could watch? It's quite. I would call it almost funny because it kind of takes the piss out of itself. Is Baki? Baki Hanma has an insane physique, or Yujiro Hanma has his back is like a demon back. It's like crazy. Oh look, we have Ali, my man.
Yeah.
Future Trunks is my favorite. No nonsense kind of guy. Yes, not super future Trunks though. I have to be very
Yeah.
clear because I don't know if you remember what he looks like and how he acted, but he was not like Dragon Ball Z Trunks, which was like cutthroat.
Like when when Frieza came to planet Earth and Future Trunks just sorts Frieza out, like that's what that kind of Trunk.
Yeah,
Ah,
exactly. It was
yeah,
great.
so good. Already it just makes you go, ah, so so exciting. I would just
Right,
also
next.
add,
Oh,
if it couldn't be Dragon Ball Z, I think I'd have to go with like Captain America. But again, this is another vanilla answer, Captain America physique.
yeah, he
Sorry.
is quite vanilla. Hulk.
Oh,
No,
genuinely, would you
he's
go
way too
Hulk
big.
physique? Yeah.
No, no. I would go. Why can't I remember him? The Thunder.
Oh, cool.
Thor. Yeah, Thor.
Nice. Hmm. Right. Okay. So, Remy Sarker asks, in Halloween spirit, have any of you had paranormal encounters? And do you even believe in something paranormal?
I'm laughing because you're laughing so much.
I know. No, well, go on,
I have
Steve.
not.
No, no
I'm so
paranormal
boring.
encounters.
Yeah, I wish I had something interesting to say on that, but no, I've had. What would count as paranormal? Like a ghost, seeing a ghost, or like I
Yeah.
don't know. The weirdest thing I get is like deja vu, where I'm like, I've done this before, or I've said this
Mm,
before, or I've experienced this before, but that's not really paranormal. Deja vu is like a thing, right? I don't know.
yeah.
I'd be
I haven't
interested
had
in the
deja
science of deja vu, but yeah.
I haven't had deja vu in a long time. It reminds me of The Matrix. Do you remember The Matrix where it was like deja vu, like the black cat? It's like, oh, there's a glitch in the Matrix.
I remember the Matrix. I can't remember the specific scene, unfortunately.
Oh, well, there you go. They didn't mention it so much in the kind of sequels of The Matrix, but the original first Matrix, there was like a thing about deja vu and it being a glitch in the Matrix and something is wrong. So,
Makes sense. Maybe
yeah,
we are in the Matrix.
but
I feel like you've been abducted, Mike.
I probably have. And they, I probably have, and they've like injected vanilla into me or something.
The most vanilla and friendly person
Yes.
inject.
Or there was a film called like Pleasantville or something like that, and maybe this is like, how can we create the perfect human, but I've gone wrong, and it's like we've made a super nice, positive person, but he's just gone wrong somehow.
Well, you've not gone wrong, Mike. You're perfectly nice. Eating for PBs. We're going to go on to the next question
Let's
because we have nothing
yeah,
interesting to say on that
moving
one.
swiftly on. Right.
Is percentage-based training dead?
So talking about like percentage of your one rep max type thing. Uh, I don't know. I haven't used it in so long, and to me, it kind of comes as like a very powerlifting based method, not something that you typically use in bodybuilding. I could be wrong. So because I'm a bit outside of that world, I wouldn't know. So yeah, I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, similar. I think it's still used in the powerlifting world, but in bodybuilding, it doesn't really bear a huge amount of relevance. I think hard sets is all we really need to worry about, and not doing too high of repetitions, really.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's nothing I use. I can answer the next question really quickly, Mike,
go.
and then we
Yeah.
can go on to the one after that. From Tony Isaacs, he asked, when imbued, have I ever been to Electric Bakery? If not, you need to go. I'm not sure if I have been, but I do know the bakery.
What's special about it?
I think me and Charlotte might have been. I think it's just a nice bakery, Mike. I think Charlotte's been. I think me and Charlotte have been, and she has got something, and I've got a coffee. But I don't think I've had a baked good from there. But I know the bakery he's talking about. I just can't. When I go to Bude, I end up having fish and chips, and I end up having Cornish pasties. So I haven't had like many baked goods outside of those out there. But
Well,
I need to go.
yeah, there you go. That's your challenge. That's your homework for next time.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know when we'll next go. It might be Christmas by how things are going at the moment. So I'll ask you the next question, Mike. Set by set. Ask, do you think the bodybuilding world's perception of what a low body fat is and media affect some people's ability to stay in a gaining phase long enough?
I think so. I think that we see a lot of transformations, a lot of, you know, elite physiques. I think it does distort what's possible. And I think sometimes it's not always clear, have people used, performance enhancing substances with clients, or have people generally use them themselves? It's not always super transparent. And I think that can distort pictures of things. People So yeah, I guess in short, yes, I do. And I think people, there's always that short-term gratification of being lean. Um, but when you're in a gaining phase, you don't get that short gratification, and people always want that. So, yeah, yes is the answer.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think even broader than this, I think social media, especially for people who are on it quite a bit, which is a lot of people. I don't know what the average person spends on social media, but I think it's quite a lot. I think I'm above average. I think you're below average, Mike. And I think it can not just kind of persuade people not to be in a gaining phase because they're seeing like lean physiques and muscular physiques, but it can also just lead you to do things that aren't necessarily aligned with your goals and what you're trying to be. And loads of things like politics to news to like a certain exercise or a certain way of programming or a certain thought or philosophy way of thinking. Even like as much of like social media in many ways is marketing. So you like supplements, clothing, like anything, gadgets. I think social media just absolutely can impact the way that you go about your decision making in life, to the point of which it could take you away from your overall actual goals and intentions.
Mm.
So,
I don't know why it made me think of this, but things like Instagram, Twitter, uh, you will never get a deep dive of information because it can only ever be superficial, because you can only post so much information. So it's kind of like, right, this is my scan. So if it's like Twitter or X, it's like you use that as your little scan maybe, but then you've got to go into, you know, you've got to go into those deeper resources, which might be a YouTube video, it might be a book, it might be a research paper, it might be hiring a coach. So it's those deeper resources which you've got to go to really get to do things right. I think not use Instagram or X.
and I think some people are more easily influenced than others. Like some people are just very easily influenced, full stop. And I have some clients like that where they bring something to me or they're asking me about something, and I'm like, "Is that because you watched this video, like Jeff Nippard's video or something?" And
Yeah.
they're like, "Yeah, Steve, you called me on it." I'm like, "Hey, we don't need to change anything. We're good, whatever it is, you know." I'll always call them out on it and keep them honest and yeah, I think it's just some people are maybe less confident in their own process than look to outsource that. And if they haven't got a coach or someone in their corner to do that with, they then look to social media and look to their kind of quote unquote guru. And that sometimes isn't the right move for them,
Mm,
unfortunately. Should we get to one more question, Mike?
yeah. Right. So Fusillo11 asks, in a bulk, if I hit my daily steps each day but have 3 times a week cardio planned, would you still suggest to do cardio even if I go over my steps?
I think the easiest solution here is to separate them. So I don't, if I am programming someone cardio and steps, I recommend them not wearing their step tracker during their cardio, because if I increase their cardio, that's going to, and it counts towards their steps, then they decrease their steps, and that's no good.
Mm,
So, yeah, I would separate them. And I think that just absolves this issue completely. Then you don't go over your steps because it's a separate metric to your cardio.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the easiest thought I have.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add to that. I think that's, yeah, solves the solution basically.
I'll ask you one more question then, Mike, because we have a bit of time. Rennie Doro George, better to repeat exercises that you like or add variety with others that you don't feel as good in different days of the routine?
Hmm. I would just potentially just stick with ones that you like. I don't think there's any need to add exercises that you hate or you don't like, because ultimately, if you hate them, you're not gonna put a good effort into them. You might hate them for a reason. Either they just don't vibe with you, or maybe they just cause pain or cause a problem. So what's the point in doing it for the sake of doing it? So I would just, if you're enjoying the exercises that you like, stick with them. You know, no need to change.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to food in some ways. Like, do I need to change the chicken that I really like for beef just because but I don't like beef? It's like, well, there are some benefits to beef because it's a red meat and you get some different micronutrients there, but ultimately it's very similar to chicken. Maybe you can find, I don't know, venison that actually gets you both. It gets you some of the differences that the red meat gets you, but also you like it. So
Mm.
maybe I understand maybe they're coming. I'm trying to think why they're asking this because I'm like, duh, just why would you include stuff that you don't like? Maybe they're like, hey, there's some benefit to variation. I think there's enough variations, just like there's enough variations of food. There's enough variations of exercises that mean you don't need, like you said, Mike, you shouldn't need to do any exercises you don't like because we have enough tools at our disposal. So, yeah, I'm with you, Mike. It's similar. Like I wouldn't get someone to eat something they don't like because you can ultimately get it elsewhere, probably from something you do like.
Mm, absolutely. Yeah, I really liked the analogy. Something crossed my mind, but it's gone out of my mind once again. So I I will leave it there.
Maybe it will come back, but we'll get to the rest of these questions next time. Thank you guys for your questions. If you do have any thoughts on how we can make the live experience more interactive, I know we only get like 10, 20 people on the live at any one time, but if there are anything that we can do there, I do think maybe taking like talking our update and then maybe putting
Yeah.
10 to 20 minutes of time towards live questions would be great as a way to do things. Um, and as a reminder, we're online coaches. We talked
Yeah.
about that quite a bit. If you do want help with your physique goals, we are here able to help. And you can apply via the description in the description, basically. And I don't think I've got anything else. Subscribe, like, comment. Thank you for your questions as always. And I guess we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah. Well said, Steve. See you later, guys.
Cheers, guys.